chat about the book and songs.
I was just going to say the same thing. It's Rich and Rob. I was just going to say the same. That happens all the time, though. You know that.
One mind, man. One mind.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Now, like Rich said, we're here to talk about our songs, which are basically always have a theme. You know that we're working on a book called The Myth of Death: Eternal Season, and it's pretty much done. It just has to be organized. We have to add Richard's lyrics and his artwork, and then it'll be out hopefully in August, but definitely soon because we have another one we're going to work on, a children's book.
True.
You know, but we have a new song that came out today. Please don't let me forget. Oh, When We Die.
I forgot.
When we, I know I heard you before and you forgot. I know, bro. There's so many though.
Exactly. Never stop.
It's When We Die. It's only this. It's only this. You know, everyone is afraid of death, but only because that's what they were taught when they were children, to be afraid of it. And that's where religion was born, and religion became more of a controlling factor than it did a release of who we actually are. Now, when we're born, we're all born biologically diverse. I call it individual biological diversity, which is creation's intelligence manifested as itself in itself. But when you take away that diversity and try to force a child into, like in a song, you put me in a cage, you put me on your stage.
Right.
You know, you have to act a certain way in order to feel that you're going to be happy. But how many people
fit in?
Yeah, how many people really are happy? I don't see a lot. I see people who are kind of content, but they're not being themselves. Right. And if you're not yourself, then you're lost. And you and I both have gone through the same thing, in that we knew we were lost, but we didn't know why. And it took us half our lives, hopefully, to get to where we are now, which is why we write the songs that we write. We write songs that are meaningful, not only to us, but hopefully to everyone. And they all have a message. It's not like a lot of the stuff you hear on the radio now, where it's just like, just trivia, you know? So we try to interact or interlock the melodies with the message. And the message of The Myth of Death, the Eternal Season, is that there's only one season, because everyone thinks that winter, in a way, is the end of spring. But in reality, in actuality, it's the birth of spring, the very foundation of spring. So we're not getting older as we perceive. We're actually getting younger, because nothing ever leaves the eternal womb. It's just a cycle. I don't want to say a circle, because that's just, too many people say that. You know, to me, it's a figure 8, the infinity sign, but it goes in all directions at the same time. Yeah. And it always crosses back over the center. So there's an interaction of birth and death. And no one can know death, but the body does know death, because we all eat every single day something that was once considered living. And it doesn't matter if it's plant or animal. Like I ate blackberries today. I eat breakfast in my backyard, eating the blackberries. Now, the blackberry is alive on the vine, all right? But when I eat it, it's considered dead. But how is it dead when it gives me the energy to continue living? All it did was change forms, you know? So that's what we're writing about. It's easy for us to see that death is the greatest fear in humanity, all right? And we go to war for it. We go to war for our beliefs, because we're hoping to get to some different plane. There is no different plane. Yeah, the center and the peripheral are the same thing. So everything is the center, which is source. And we can't leave source, even in what we consider death. Because when I die, my pulse might end, but pulse continues.
Yes, it does.
the heartbeat continues, which is the only way that we can go to funerals. Someone has passed away or passed on, as we like to say, and yet you're there. So what are you afraid of? And that's what this book, The Myth of Death, is all about. And then we're including the lyrics to our songs, which are also about, well, they're about a lot of things, but they're about the myth of death, which is why we're including them. I mean, if you look at the seasons, everyone says there's 4 seasons. No, there's not. There's one. One is the source of the other. Spring is birth. Summer is like being in your 20s, I guess, or 30s, or even 40s.
Yeah.
And then when you get in your 50s and 60s, I'm going to say 60s because you and I are both in our 50s.
Yeah.
It's 60s is fall, and then winter is death. But winter is just a resting period before spring. So it all begins again. And you can see it not only in humanity, but you can see it in the trees. You can see it in the leaves that fall off the maple that I have right out front. And yet every year the leaves come back so that the source of the leaves
come back. We've always.
But what happens is people want to carry their thoughts forward. No. If you did, you wouldn't be able to adapt to the current environment.
Exactly.
We don't know where we're going after this. We call it Earth, but we don't know.
Right.
We might be somewhere else. And if we only knew Earth, how could we possibly survive that? So it's always a constant state of learning. And people need to understand that creation itself, the source itself, had no source. If it had a source, it wouldn't be source. It didn't have parents to teach it what it meant to be alive.
Right.
So it's learning. And that's what we call evolution.
Right.
I don't know how easier to explain that. If it knew, it wouldn't be source. Source is source, the end, and it doesn't have a source. It doesn't know.
You're right.
So why do we feel that we need to know source? Which creates the expectation of what's going to happen next. We want it to repeat. We want our expectations to repeat, or we want them to change. That's time. All right. And time doesn't exist. I mean, it's great for a watch, which is pretty much chewed up by my dog. All right. But it's really just a matter of keeping
marketing.
Yeah. And, the sun sets and the moon rises, but they don't move.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the earth spinning, and we are the earth spinning. And even the design of our bodies are based on motion. And it has to rest. It has to consume itself, because creation consumes itself to remain eternal. It needs no outside energy source. All right. It consumes itself. So it has no concept of what it means to die. So death doesn't matter to source, because it remains source regardless of what happens.
Yeah,
and it's really all about fear. And what we're taught, we go to heaven, we go to hell, blah, blah, blah. Heaven and hell aren't places people go when they die. It's where they live while they're alive.
Right.
And what we're trying to do is show that this is heaven. This is everything.
Yeah, everything.
How can you separate it? I don't know. But you and I both used to.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
When you start with free.
And we suffered as a result of it.
Yes, we did. Disease, body-wise, everything.
Exactly. So what we're trying to do is end that separation with
for somebody else.
one of our songs. It's in one of our songs, End the Separation, which I think is, I don't remember which one, bro. We're doing several a week.
I have no idea.
But it's okay. It's out there. So if you want to listen to our songs, you'll find it,
It's out there. Find the fruit.
Yeah. So we got this book coming out. We have more songs coming out. And again, a new one today called When We Die. This is it. And this is it.
Yeah.
So we're just being honest and seeing life not how we were taught, but what we feel.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the importance of what we're doing. It's not ego. It's not trying to be famous, because I sure as hell don't want to be famous.
Yeah.
You know, but I do want to reach as many people as we can.
Share the good news.
Yeah, exactly. And it's happening. Like you talked before, there's kind of a revolution going on. And when we say revolution, we're not talking about any violence. It's an awakening.
Yeah, awakening.
Yeah. It's like getting away from the commercials and saying, you know, we wrote about this. And I don't remember which song, but a commercial between the cartoons.
This last song, When We Die.
Is it this one or is it Rising?
This one.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So that's that. Now, I've been talking long enough. What do you have to say?
It's all good as one voice, but the two bodies.
I know. We've known that for years. Everything
you said was right on.
Yeah. And the thing is, Rich and I met on Facebook by accident, and Rich, he wasn't the man he is now. And he couldn't speak too well, and he definitely couldn't sing.
Right.
And then we started writing back and forth like poems.
The resonation.
You know, and you said, you said one day we're going to collaborate. And I'm like, well, that's cool, but what's next? And then one day you sang a song, and I'm like, holy, you know, this is it. And it's only getting better every single time. And my point in this is for Rich, who's had a stroke, who's had a lot of different issues, is never give up. Don't give up.
Me up to the moment. There's nothing in the moment.
You don't know what's coming next. You don't know what's coming next.
Right. There's no disease in the moment.
Yeah. One day you might be really miserable, and the next day everything is illuminated.
Yep.
You know, and it's not a theory. And that's the hard part, Rich, is that people think about it. They want to know.
Right. That's experiential.
Exactly. And you can't experience truth. You have to live it.
It's not special. Just give every day and love yourself.
The more you give, the more you get.
Exactly. The more you live.
Yeah. I don't know why that works that way, but it makes sense, because creation will be compassionate unto itself.
Exactly. Yes, it will be. Beasts of flowers, and nature happen right at there.
Exactly. It doesn't distinguish between what it is and what it's not. It just is.
Yep.
And if someone can grasp that, not grasp it, but feel it, you know, then everything changes. You can't make it happen. It's just boom, there it is. Yeah. And you're like, wow, you know, how did I not see this when I was 5 years old? Right. The thing is, you probably did see it when you were 5 years old.
Exactly. Layers of always built in your mind, polluted you. It's about unlearning. Actually, unlearning is most important in learning.
I agree.
Unraveling.
Unlearning.
Unraveling.
Only then can the intelligence of compassion and expansion and adaptation
it's always been there.
Yeah, literally take over your life.
Exactly.
And we've talked about it in another song. I'll wait for your arrival. I'll wait for your surrender.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
You know, and that was a great move, by the way, that you put surrender in the second part.
Yeah, thanks, brother.
No, thank you. Yeah, I didn't think of that. Yeah. So, but it's a surrender, but it's not like a surrender in a war. It's just like, okay, man, I don't know the truth, and I'm never going to know the truth. That's what happened to me, as we've discussed.
Yeah.
I was in bed, and I woke up, and I was stressed out, and I'm like, why can't I figure out what I'm seeing?
Right.
And then all of a sudden, it just came to me. You don't know. You're never going to know. Right. No one knows, nor will they ever. They just create formulas to try to explain it.
Right.
But the explanation isn't the pulse. It's not heartbeat.
Before that.
Yeah, it's before. It's like you said something before. It's like afterthought. And I think as soon as you said that, I was like, it's before thought.
It sure is. Yes, it is.
No one thinks their way into birth. There's an intelligence prior to the knowledge. that creates the birth. And
Exactly.
I think that's what everyone in this world, at least the people who care,
Right.
is seeking, that silence. But they're seeking silence with noise. They're seeking non-thought with thought.
You're right.
So they're going to remain in time. And there's nothing you and I can do about it except explain.
Yeah, right. Silence, be authentic.
That's it. Just be who you are. There's nothing wrong with it.
No.
And if other people tell you that there's something wrong with it, then that's really them judging themselves. It's not.
Yeah,
It really has. Yeah. But what is a child to do other than listen to their parents?
Right.
They don't know. So some people fit, not very few fit, and they become our politicians and our business leaders and things like that. The strongest sense of self.
Yeah.
A lot of people are stuck in the middle, like they see something and they don't really know how to express it, which is, I think, how we were and why we create now.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then there are other people who just reject it. Now, they either become homeless or they become creators.
Yeah.
And then they're worshipped. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I want everyone to understand that this is not theoretical. This is exactly what Rich and I have gone through and what we're going to continue to go through.
Yeah, exactly.
In the hopes of
loving and sharing. Love.
Yeah, exactly. In the hopes of sharing what's actually happened so that people can embrace this and we can finally end the turmoil that we call life. Because the truth is, we don't know the difference between life and death. For all we know, this is death.
Right. It's a word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly. It's just a word. And I think because we don't know death, we fear it. And yet at the same time, we consume things that were once living.
Right.
So our bodies know, but our minds don't.
Yeah, the body knows. Yeah, definitely.
The body has to know, otherwise it wouldn't survive.
Right.
We all survived prior to any kind of knowledge. The human race, all species, everything, did not think its way into where it is. All right, psychologically. I mean, we need time. I got to remember how to tie my shoes. When I go out, I have to remember how to get home. But I don't know what I am. I didn't even name myself.
Right.
You call me human. What does that even mean? How would I know?
Right.
Because someone else said so?
Yeah, that's it.
It's fascinating and also frustrating. But the frustration is also a motivation to continue to move forward and to say, we all feel there's something wrong.
Well said, yeah.
And we have to accept that there's something wrong and then keep moving.
Right, propels us forward. Yeah.
What choice do we have?
None.
Yeah, but they call it choice. That's freedom of choice. You know what I mean? But if you're telling me I have to choose between heaven and hell, and that's my freedom, what if I choose neither? What if I say I don't want either?
Right, you're free.
So where's my choice?
Right.
And that's what this book is about. It's what we write about. We also write about some cool stuff, just to mix things up.
Yeah,
but we always have a message that we feel deeply, and we're going to continue until we can. That's it.
Yep. Well said, brother.
All right, man.
That's pretty good. We're good.
All right, good.
Right on.
All right, good. All right, good.
Yeah. All right, guys. See you guys. See you.
All right, love you guys. Thanks for listening.
Love you all, guys. See you next time.
All right, brother.
Jim.
I'll talk to you later.
Definitely. See you. Good job.
Yep.